and the enemy is the oligarchy.
How does that sound? Is that loud enough? What do you think? What do you think? Is that loud enough? Was that loud enough? Huh? Huh? How's that sound? Was that loud enough? Oh, you're so cute. You could go as Garfield for Halloween. Or maybe we'll dress you up as a little pumpkin. Do you want to go as a pumpkin? That would be so cute, right? If you went as a pumpkin. Oh my God. Okay, buddy. Okay, buddy. You're a good boy. Oh. Too bad cats didn't make that sound too. That should be the sound effect whenever cats try jumping off of something. Don't you think so? Don't you think so? All right, little Bubba. There you go, little buddy. You gonna climb back on my leg? Oh, all right. Let's see. It's time to impeach the president. We're gonna talk about this. I linked the Rolling Stone article down below, so you can read this yourself. Surprisingly, Rolling Stone usually has a paywall. If you don't know what a paywall means, it just means these companies, these large corporations, they gatekeep the information behind a wall, a virtual wall that you have to pay to get beyond. I don't know why I'm explaining this. But this one didn't. This one didn't have a paywall. I was very excited. I usually find access, no matter. But I linked this Rolling Stone article. There is no pay, as far as I know. Watch, I'm going to say it, and then they're going to hit a paywall with it. Maybe they give everybody a free article or two. Maybe they choose which ones they have paywalled. And let me just give you my thoughts on paywalling articles. You'll see a lot of these news companies, these purveyors of information, they're really just big data miners. And they gatekeep information. And then they make you feel like, ooh, you want to support our liberty? You want to support freedom? You want to support America? They say stuff like that. And they're like, then, pay us $1 and you can have this information. When the truth is if you go to any of these websites, they have pop-up ads. They have ads that you have to scroll past. They have ads that, are banner ads on the side. They have a ton of ads. That's traditionally how they get paid. So they're just making you pay too, and making you hopefully not notice that when you go to the article, you have to scroll past an ad, you have to click out of the pop-up ad, you have to do all this stuff. So I hate when these companies, there's a ton of them, name them, just throw a dart at the wall and you'll hit one of these companies that claim, we need you to support the free press, the liberty in the press. Do you want to support truth? Democracy. Do you want to support that? And give us $2. And it's like, how about no? How about you run ads and then just give us the information? But in capitalism, they got to grift you somehow. But this Rolling Stone article down below did not have, I read the whole thing and I took screenshots so I could share it with you because information is key. Information is vital. Some say democracy dies in darkness. I think that's what Jeff Bezos' Amazon Post says. He should just rename the Washington Post to the Amazon Post, Or he should rename, petition to have Jeff Bezos rename the Washington Post to Jeff Bezos Morning Update. Jeff Bezos Morning Review. Jeff, just do that. Come on. At this point, nobody's fooled. We understand you got rid of the editorial opinion pieces or whatever. It's just a front for what you okayed. The Washington Post is nothing more than Jeff Bezos' diary. Just like Rupert Murdoch, he's like, I do Fox News and it's all made up. You can't sue. Fox News is like, you can't sue us because no reasonable person would think this is serious news. That really happened. But, we got to talk about Pumpkin Nugget. What's up, Daisy? Let me see if I can grab Pumpkin Nugget. That's a funny name. Yash Sagwan. That sounds like speaking Rastafari. Sagwan. Jacob. Hey, what's up? Hey, Rob, I'm supposed to move into my house the 17th. I'd pay the deposit tomorrow. Jacob, make sure when you pay any kind of deposit, you are getting some kind of receipt, but more than a receipt, some kind of contract. Get it in writing. Make sure that you're not just giving people money, but before you hand over that money, you have a contract, you have something that gives you proof of you're giving a deposit to reside in this place. Just always make sure you take care of yourself. Darned caboose. Bribery is already completely legal. It's called lobbying. 100% darned caboose. I agree, but darned caboose. If you didn't read the Rolling Stone article that came out today, we're going to go into, Citizens United and how that's absolutely trashed America. It gave corporations essentially through PACs, political action committees. It gives corporations a way to give unlimited money for their free speech. So what the Supreme Court said is like, yeah, corporations are people too, and they have free speech, and it's just how much they want to pay politicians through political action committees. And that really did a number on us. But there were still, as we're going to go into this, there were still some things that could rein in politicians from being completely corrupt. We've seen those kind of fade away in the past couple of years. Specifically, I'm trying to think. It goes into it in this. And we're going to get into it. But outside of the legal bribery, lobbying, which is just legal bribery. When you see, I would think it doesn't matter if he's on your team or not. Like, let's say, hypothetical, let's Ben Shapiro it. Let's say that Elon Musk gave Bernie Sanders $200 million to get elected, right? Me, as a Bernie Sanders fan, I would be highly concerned and I would speak out about it. I would go, Bernie, why are you taking that kind of money? What does he expect from you in return? I'm sure he's not giving that out of the goodwill of his heart. He's probably looking for a pardon, some kind of tax break, some kind of tax subsidy. They're looking for something in return. They're figuring when Elon Musk gave Donald Trump $200 million, he figured that was a good investment. I can make billions off of this. So that was like the legal bribery, right? But there's this other, what we've been seeing a lot, especially now that Donald Trump's in office, these quid pro quo, these like, hey, Qatar will give you a jet. Maybe in a few months, you give us an Air Force base. That is clearly to, the average person. You go, oh, well, he's not giving Saudi Arabia an Air Force base. He didn't give, I don't know, Madagascar an Air Force base. He gave Qatar, the same people who gave him a jet, an Air Force base. The same people who gave him a jet, Donald Trump gave them an Air Force base. Normal, everyday people with eyes and ears and mouths and fingers and toes and heads and shoulders and knees and go fuck yourself, Trump. Normal people would look at that and go, oh, that's clearly corruption. That's clearly bribery, right? That's a pay to play. That's a, we give you a jet. Here's also the brilliance of the art of the deal. Hey, we give you a jet, you give us a whole Air Force base, right? So there's this other thing where, what was his name? Darned Caboose. Love that name, by the way. I hope he's still here. I hope you hit subscribe. I hope you hit the notification bell, because anybody talking about lobbying being bribery is a friend of mine, okay? Yep, communist. Call me whatever you want. You can call me all the names in the book. It don't scare me. We're going to root out these corrupt people selling our country down the river, selling the workers down the river. And if your response is communist, oh, well, I'll take it. I don't give a shit. I'm a leftist socialist. But whatever you need to make you feel good and feel like you did something today. You stuck up for those corporations and those corrupt politicians that are selling you out and your kids' homes and selling out their good paying jobs and their education and their healthcare. If that's going to make you feel better, go ahead. Go ahead. You don't scare me. But what we're talking about right now is Donald Trump clearly getting a jet from a foreign company or a foreign monarchy. Is Qatar got a monarch? I'm guessing. I don't know. But from a foreign government, let's put it like that. Taking a jet and then giving an Air Force base and giving some kind of Section 3 or some bullshit protections. Like if anyone attacks Qatar, that's an attack on the US. Did you know that that happened? That happened. So if any rando decides to go at Qatar, we get to go to war. Remember all the people who were like the no war president, the peacekeeping president? He just tied us to a foreign company. I'll keep calling them companies. Well, because they're all essentially just corporations with the mask of government over them. America really took the mask off, and America was proud enough to say, like, "Hey, corporations really run America." You know, what would you do without your boss? You'd be lost. That's what some Americans think. You know, I'm wearing my "Don't Tread on Me" shirt because some people wear this not ironically, but literally. Don't tread on just them. The me is just them. Darned caboose. We need a bunch more Mamdanis and Sanders out there. And darned, have you heard of Graham Plattner, the man I first played a audio clip of? He is challenging Susan Collins' seat in Maine. Graham Plattner is the man who said,
And the enemy is the oligarchy.
he's a former, I want to say former military veteran, oyster farmer, who is now going to challenge Susan Collins and her complicity. It's double the I's, double the S's, and then you get complicity. Complicity. We have fun. But Graham Plattner is challenging Susan Collins because obviously she's helping protect these PDF files like Donald Trump. She's not releasing the Epstein files, and she's selling out the main worker, generations of hard workers who do oyster farming, logging, nurses, doctors. Shout out to all the VA nurses up in Maine, my family included. Much love to you. Thank you for everything you do. And Graham Plattner is out there with, I think, even a more progressive message. We've gone over it on this channel than Bernie Sanders. You know, he's clearly saying like end billionaires. You know, like tax them out of here. And that's really the main issue. Check out Gary's Economics too. He's a dude from across the pond, a lad as they call him. He's a lad from the UK, trader turned YouTuber, and says if you don't tax wealth, not work, none of your kids are going to have homes. The more they consolidate wealth at the top, the more they bribe our politicians, buy off our government, and gobble up our assets. So, and these people, listen, I'm just going to put you time out for 24 hours if you're going to be a moron. This is happening in real time. Rolling Stone, the article is down below. We're going to talk about how now J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, they're using their lawyers, which they also got a bunch of pro bono work from forcing lawyers to submit to the will of the government, to try to now make it completely legal. Right now, like, it's still not totally legal to accept bribes from foreign governments, from, you know, like Tom Homan, you know, took literally a bag of cash and the FBI didn't charge him. That's not technically legal, because it's just basically they say it's like a high bar to say, oh, he literally took that bag of cash and did this for it. Because I guess the bar, everything I've looked up, read, listened to, and tried to have explained to me, the bar has to be like he takes a bag of cash and then clicks a button that says you get this for it. Like that's what you know what I mean? Like they basically made it legal, but there's still times where they can prosecute these people or impeach. But right now, J.D. Vance and Donald Trump are going to court. Like here's one of the examples we're going to get to. Donald Trump, we all saw the reports. He was saying, you know, oil executives, give me $1 billion in favor for, whatever you need. Now, everyday people would be like, that's a bribe. That's selling out our government to big oil. But the court, a lot of these Republican, you know, appointed judges say, that the bar's, too high to actually charge that. Because, even if they gave him the $1 billion, like, what did he specifically do? And how do we know that the billion wasn't actually for something else? Do we know it was direct? Like, they would literally have to tie a note to $1 billion and say, this is for government favors to prosecute, which is stupid. Stupid. We should have like some kind of common sense laws, but because the working class don't control anything, all they do is here. This is the one time he was honest. They say, we don't care about you. We just want your vote. So we can go in, legalize bribery, take billions from Qatar, take billions from the oil company, take billions from big pharma, take billions from foreign governments, and we do it all to enrich ourselves while you suffer, while you don't get health care, while you face layoffs from corporations. Remember, corporations lay you off, not immigrants. While wages don't rise, while they give themselves wage increases, all these things, while they're not investing in infrastructure, that pothole that you keep going over, the education. We're going to actually get into education. So this is, oh God, these fucking people. You guys are exhausting how stupid you are. Just try not to be stupid for a second and hear me out. Stop listening to the guy who told you he doesn't care about you. I just needed your vote so I could legalize bribery. And start listening to the guy who's saying, I really care about my communities. My family for generations has fought through the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War I, World War II. My family has fought against fascism, racists for generations, okay? And not so billionaires could install puppet dictators and they could sell us out to foreign governments and enrich their friends and appoint their kids, and appoint their kids, what is it, something to TikTok. Did you see this? Nepo baby. I couldn't believe this. I'm like, these people got so butthurt about Hunter Biden's son, like, selling artwork. And they're saying, oh, Baron Trump, this little queef that, don't ever name your kid Baron unless you want him to be the last in the line. But Baron Trump, this little queef, you're telling me that this kid who's going to like SUNY or whatever is qualified to run TikTok? Give me a joke. All while his dad is in the Epstein files, You see this in Vegas? Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And just remember that, all you little perverts in the comments, whether you're bots or you're just chuds from, but America, just remember that you're supporting a PDF file. Oh, and if he's not, just release the Epstein files. How about that? You support a PDF file, and if he's not, just release the Epstein files. Simple as that. Then we can once and for all go, oh, this was just a weird coincidence. It was just a weird coincidence that this pervert bragged about owning pageants so he could go backstage and creep on the young girls. It's so weird that you guys are dedicated to the PDF files. All right, so I want to play some audio for you before we get into the Rolling Stone. Before we get into the Rolling Stone article. And by the way, you see somebody made this? 100% agree. Person of the Year should be the frog guy, the original frog guy. I know there's more frog guys, but this dude's a hero. This is how you protest. When the fascist government is using your tax dollars illegally, by the way, to run political propaganda at airports. Did you see this? Kristi Noem video playing on loop in airports, which, by the way, can you guys think of any weird movie where a political regime had videos playing on loop about the others being the enemies and these people being good guys in the movie. Just want you to consider that. But Kristi Noem blasts U.S. airports with video blaming Democrats for the shutdown. And somebody said, blatant violation of the Hatch Act, illegally using taxpayer money for political propaganda, and then says, I know, no one cares. But this is how far this regime is going. Like, they're using tax money to create political propaganda, which is highly illegal. You know, just another reason all these people should be not only impeached, but imprisoned. But we're going to get to this in a minute. The right's secret plan to help billionaires buy elections, and how 2 lawsuits could expand Citizens United and turn America into a kleptocracy, and how this nightmare can be stopped. We're going to get into it, and I'll link it down below. Seattle and PDX aren't running. And solidarity with my West Coast sister cities, Seattle and Portland. I've never been to the Pacific Northwest, but it is a dream of mine to go out there. And the way I see them holding down the true don't tread on me. This is just so all you 2A people know, all you gun rights people know, who you're like, I need my gun, I can do it. This dude in a frog costume is showing this better than any of you. Any of you. This dude right here. Real American hero. Maybe we should redo the eagle and put this in frog costume as our, whatever it is, mascot. Because the eagle is just a mascot, essentially, you know. Give it to the frog guy. Okay. Before we talk about the article, let's do a little audio news. Stella B. It's beautiful here and definitely not a war zone. Yeah. You could just, you know, that's the crazy thing about the day and age we're living in. We don't have to rely on, you know, like a news wire when people are like, well, not people. When a regime is trying to villainize their opponents and lie about what's happening in the city, you could get real-time feeds of these cities. We could get live, you know, looks in downtown Portland, downtown Seattle. So, but they'll still lie to you. Why? Why will they lie to you? Well, here's a hint. Let me play this hint for you.
Smart people don't like me.
The president said smart people don't like me. What he's saying is only dumb people like me. He knows that, and he says, what else does he say? Smart people don't like me. I gotta move the other one. Where's the other one?
There's a lot of stupid people in this country running things.
Oh, well, we know that, but I'm looking for the other one.
Everything's computer.
No. Oh, here it is.
Educated. I love the poorly educated.
So when Donald says, smart people don't like me, that means MAGA. He's saying MAGA is dumb because they like me. His words. I'm just solving that riddle for you. And then he says, I love the poorly educated. Why does he say that? Because he says, I can go and lie to your face, and you could go check. You could go live time, call a friend there, look up a live feed, search a YouTuber or a streamer, and see what it looks like downtown. But he says, I love the poorly educated because they won't do that. They'll take me for my word, even though my word is not good. So before we get to Rolling Stone, I want to play this dude for you, Warrior DW2. Because what this regime has done is almost unforgivable. They are attacking special needs students' rights. And I'm going to let him explain.
We have some devastating news for parents of special needs children in the United States. The Trump administration just effectively shut down the entire department of the Department of Education Special Needs Division by firing every single member of their staff. That's right, by firing all of them, not furloughing them, but completely firing them and getting rid of them entirely. you have now effectively shut down this entire division. So what did this division do? Well, they made sure that schools that obviously cater to special needs children within their school districts receive the funding and the resources necessary to help bring kids with special needs up to a higher level and give them the special care and education that they need to thrive. As kids with special needs are not able to sit in a normal classroom and learn the way that normal children do. They need special attention, special care, specially trained teachers to help them reach their full potential. That is now effectively completely gone. Just
Gone. You understand that? That's gone. This shouldn't be political. This should not be. I know the right always likes to cheer about supporting kids or whatever, but this is what's happening. And if you think you support kids, or whether you want to support kids with special needs that need extra help in school, and you thought your political party was helping them, I'm telling you right now, and this dude is too, and a lot of other people are, they fired everyone. There's no more help for those kids, the kids that need it the most. So I would encourage you to abandon those leaders who have lied to you, or abandon the people that never cared in the first place, but sold you on caring. It's okay. It's okay you got duped. It's okay they preyed upon your fears, or they, preyed upon your heartstrings, or they sold you the lie that they're for traditional values and family values. They're not, because their actions show us that. Crush Dice, what's up? Oh, thank you for the super chat, Crush Dice. Matthew, just get out of here, because I ain't got time for fascists, man. I ain't got time for fascists. Donald Trump and his billionaire corporate buddies just gutted the Department of Education. And special needs kids need it the most, and they did not care. I don't have time for you to, name call or whatever you do in the comments. Or Tommy G says good. Tommy G, I pray that this never affects you. I know you think it won't, just like Chuck Kirk thought he could go to schools and talk about deaths being, part of 2A, being, just a necessity of being a 2A country, because he thought it wasn't going to happen to him. Let me just say, I hope this never affects you, but there's a lot of people who it affects. Your neighbors, hardworking Americans, American kids, and that anti-patriotism that you display here on my channel is not acceptable. These are children that need adults to speak up for them, advocate for them, and ensure that they have an education. And Tommy's response was good. Everything in my heart says to curse you right now, but I won't. Jesus tells me to forgive and love my enemy. So let me just say, I pray that it doesn't happen to you, Tommy, and don't come back. You hear? These people. I'm going to let this dude finish. This is Donald Trump's regime gutting any kind of special education funding. Gutting the people that are qualified to help kids with special needs.
Despite the head of the Department of Education saying that special needs children are a top priority with this administration, his actions have proven otherwise. The story is way too big to leave it up to mainstream media because they are hardly even covering this. So please share this with everybody you know. And this should spark outrage amongst conservatives, liberals, and centrists, every single American. Because when you attack children, especially those who are vulnerable, like special needs children, you have just got to be evil. Do your thing over here, and also check out our stuff.
So I'm not on Instagram. I ripped this from Reddit. But if you're on Instagram, I just don't support Zuckerberg. Please follow this dude. If he's spreading news like this, he's a friend of mine. We're going to get into the Rolling Stone. This is just another reason we should impeach Donald Trump. I don't care if it qualifies or not. Let me say this. If you have the balls to put somebody in the Department of Education and lie to us saying special education is a top priority, and then turn around and fire everybody and cut the funding, and clearly you were lying Because anybody who says it's a top priority, what is their action going to do? Fund it, hire more people, give as much attention and money to it as they can. It's a top priority. That was a lie. Let me explain how lying works. They say one thing and do another. Just like when people were like, Charlie Kirk wasn't racist. I'm sorry that you don't understand what racism is. That's when he said, if I see a black person who is a pilot, I'm going to think they're not qualified. That is textbook racism. That's what you can look up in the dictionary, and now they should put a fucking picture of Charlie Kirk, although we should just forget about that asshole, but that is textbook racism. Too many people, for too long we've been undereducating people, and people have been ironically saying they don't trust the government, but at the same time only listening to certain people in the government. Brian, I don't care what you think, so don't come back. I have no time for people that are going to call names when I'm pointing out this regime has decimated special education, teachers, funding, all in the Department of Education. This is not just about helping and protecting young folks and kids, but this is about protecting the most vulnerable young folks and kids. And like this dude said, this shouldn't matter if you're right, center, or left. This should worry you about the future of our country, what this says about our country. For anybody who said, make this country great, what makes it great? That the president got a private jet from a foreign country? What makes it great? That Arkansas soy boy farmers are going out of work and losing their farms? What makes it great? That they're cutting education, something that every student, hundreds of years, or at least over 100 years ago, we decided was more important than them working in mines? What makes it great? That people are so fucking stupid in this country that they'll listen to a dude who has never cared about them. He's a Nepo baby, rich kid, coastal elite Democrat that figured I can grift these right people, these conservatives more. I can sell them on conservative values even though I've cheated on every wife I've had. I have 3 different wives, cheated on all of them, have 5 kids, was in the Epstein files, is in the Epstein files, talks about how he was a creep at the pageants he owned, and I can tell them I'm a conservative value harbinger. Or is it funnier that this dude literally said,
Smart people don't like me.
smart people don't like me. He said, the people that don't like me are smart. The people that do like me are dumb. This should not be political. This should upset everybody because it's our job as adults to protect kids with special needs, to ensure that they get the greatest chance at learning, and to provide that education for them. Thank you, Crush. Sub, share, like, and smash the notification bell. And there are some people that are so stupid, I'm just going to tell you to move on. Go to Tim Pool, his culture war. Go have them talk about what book's going to make you gay, what green M&M is wearing, and how it's upsetting to you. Go. We need to talk about how this, what is a woman? She covers her drink when you walk by. Just so we're clear. Get out of here. That's what I mean. You need the Tim Pools to distract you. Well, you're easily distracted anyway. But anyone that keeps saying, what is a woman? Let me just explain it to you. You need those distractions. Because if you think for any second that question leads to people getting paid better, being able to afford a house, having health care, not going into debt to get an education, you're a moron. You understand that? That's why Tim Pool says we're the culture war. We're going to find out what books we need to burn and we'll go after them. You guys are idiots. I'm talking to the rest of America who's paying attention to what actually is going on. While this president sells everybody out down the river, the workers, even his own people. He don't give a about none of them. And you think like the green M&M is a major priority? Okay. And some of you are bots from
Azerbaijan and Albania.
Azerbaijan and Albania. And I understand that. So, let's get to, actually, I have some more audio for you. This one I wanted to play, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. They say it's a rare interview. I don't know if it's rare, but it's a less heard one, and it's got some insightful information. And just remember, all you maggots, I understand you guys are all insecure. That's why you're so concerned what a woman is and about pronouns. But you protect PDF files. Oh, and if he's not, just release the Epstein files. But until then, you protect, predators. We're going to take a listen to this.
The Negro. I mean, every other group that came as an immigrant somehow, not easily, but somehow got around it. Is it just the fact that Negroes are black?
White America must see that no other ethnic group has been a slave on American soil. That is one thing that other immigrant groups haven't had to face. The other thing is that the color became a stigma. American society made the Negro's color a stigma. America freed the slaves in 1863 through the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln, but gave the slaves no land or nothing in reality, and as a matter of fact, to get started on. At the same time, America was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that there was a willingness to give the white peasants from Europe an economic base. And yet it refused to give its black peasants from Africa, who came here involuntarily in chains and had worked free for 244 years, any kind of economic base. And so emancipation for the Negro was really freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without food to eat or land to cultivate, and therefore it was freedom and famine at the same time. And
freedom and famine at the same time.
When white Americans tell the Negro to lift himself by his own bootstraps, they don't look over the legacy of slavery and segregation. I believe we ought to do all we can and seek to lift ourselves by our own bootstraps.
That's bullshit.
But it's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his...
It's a cruel gesture to say to a bootless man he ought to lift himself by his bootstraps.
...own bootstraps. And many Negroes, by the thousands and millions, have been left bootless as a result of all of these years of oppression and as a result of a society that deliberately made his color a stigma and something worthless and degrading.
What is it?
Oh, sorry. And the other thing is, from Reconstruction, I forget, the late 1800s to the middle of the 20th century, 1960 whatever, until the Civil Rights Passage was Act, a lot of people overlook, or maybe, because I'm not sure what year that was, but people forget that black people had their right to vote taken away. After they were freed, Reconstruction came in, and their right to vote was, again, stripped for 91 years. And it wasn't until the 60s where that was given back. There's no time for stupidity. Matt Rodma, my family never owned slaves, helped free the enslaved people and died doing so. Why should I pay reparations? Well, I understand your selfish take on this. My family is John Brown, who helped spark the Civil War. And reparations is, I think, a tiny smidge of something that we can do to what Martin Luther King Jr. just explained. I don't know, hear you saying, why should I pay for Israel's health care? Why should I pay for all these bombs and bailouts? Why should I pay for Elon Musk's trying to be his foe wanting to go to Mars? Why should I pay with that in my taxes? So until I hear you saying that, I'm not going to really take the reparations anything serious besides probably being racist. Let's get into the pop-ups. See? Rolling Stone right away. You have a pop-up. Rolling Stone, come on. Remember, while he's fighting against healthcare for us. He said his ballroom is still going in. His ballroom is still going in. So he meant this. He doesn't care about you. He just wants your vote. We need to impeach all of these criminals. Article 2, Section 4, if the president is impeached for treason, the vice president, civil officers shall be removed. Who is subject to impeachment? The president, vice president, any federal civil officers. Uptalker Stephen Miller, fascist Pauly Shore. If you don't know who I'm talking about, this guy.
But Democrat leaders.
That's Stephen Miller.
In the Ninth Circuit.
Horribly racist person. Horribly racist person. He's the one that has the political police on our streets right now doing racism and disappearing people. And sometimes, you know, I try to remind people that I don't care if if the Supreme Court says they're allowed to use skin color to go after people and sort it out later. I say sometimes laws are not moral or good or ethical. And what was it? Who was it? Who was it again? Some old hippie that had a quote. Who's this old hippie? This country with its institutions belongs to the people who inhabit it. Whenever they shall grow weary of the existing government, they can exercise their constitutional right of amending it or their revolutionary right to dismember and overthrow it. Does anybody know what hippie said that? He's an old hippie. Any know? Does anybody know what hippie said this? Your revolutionary right to dismember and overthrow the government? Anybody want to guess? Carlin. This is a good guess. No. Again. Does anybody know what hippie said this quote? Nope. Jeb, it was not me. Anybody know? He's an old hippie. Ginsburg, Frank Zappa, George Washington. No. It was Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln. This country with its institutions belongs to the people who inhabit it. No kings. Whenever they shall grow weary of the existing government, they can exercise their constitutional right of amending it or their revolutionary right to dismember and overthrow it. Tyler, we do not accept people who defend PDF files, okay? We don't. We are not tolerant of his intolerance and his perv behavior. Lincoln, Neon Monkey, thank you. Michael, good to see you. Working in the greenhouse. Oh, you know, but that sounds kind of, this sounds like Nirvana, Michael, so. Technically right, LOL, Lincoln was one of the last good Republicans. Well, people think because, the Republicans used to be the Democrats, they think that's like an own. But they clearly don't understand their history. And I always say, if you think the Republicans were like, the Republicans you think of today were these abolitionists, civil rights, marginalized people protectors, I would just like you to look in the 1960s and see how many Republicans stood with Martin Luther King, okay? It's funny that they heard that talking point. They were like, oh, the Republicans were the ones who were Lincoln and who did all that stuff back in the 1800s. And they're like, that's got to be an own. And it's like, well, they don't understand that the modern Republican Party became such after FDR. Once, corporations got enough of a hold and there were greedy people who did not care about marginalized people. I keep saying that. And I'm like, just learn a little more about the history. All you got to do is look like 50 years back and see what Republicans were doing in the 1960s. If you think, but I guess that's like the simplicity of stupid thinking. They're just like, oh, Republicans were just awesome all the way through. We had Lincoln. And they don't understand, like, no. The way you think would have been anti-Lincoln. You would have been, one of the Confederacy. You would have been a foreign trader. It's amazing, these people with their takes, with their, anti-woke, and they're like, yeah, Lincoln's one of us. You understand, like, Lincoln, even though he wasn't woke, at the time was considered by people like you to be extremely woke. My cousin John Brown didn't think he was, he thought he was just kind of playing to the people with the whole Emancipation Proclamation. And there were a lot of free staters at the time in the 1850s. That free state, like Kansas Free Staters and the Ruffians. And if you look into Civil War history, it's super, super interesting. But some of these free staters didn't mean that the black people weren't enslaved, that they were free people, that they meant it to be free of black people. And Lincoln was even a big proponent of having black people go back to Africa, and then he changed course, and we have history how it was. But my family, John Brown, pushed these people on that and thought they were phonies for it. But it's just weird that, some people are like, Abraham Lincoln's a Republican. Me too. I'm anti-slavery. I'm woke. Whole lot of history that happened between then, but, idiot. Guys, I'm not Tim Pool. I'm not going to pretend like a green M&M, reading a book to you is going to, solve the economy. Go to him. Go to him, okay? Michael says, use the pocket computer you're typing on. I think a lot of these people have grown up so entitled that they don't realize they have a pocket computer. You have a pocket computer. Back in my day, we had a pocket beeper. Just like, it was like not even a pocket calculator. It just like showed you numbers. And we had to decipher codes through the numbers. And you people have a pocket computer and still refuse to get educated. Crystal Hazer. Yeah, Kirk was just a racist. You don't have to look at his shit or in context to understand that when somebody says, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to wonder if he's qualified, that's textbook racism. Like, I really don't know how, like, these people are so entitled, so woke, so, like, woke that they think definitions don't mean definitions or don't mean what it does anymore. It's weird how, like, the right has gone so extreme. They're like, that couldn't be racist. You got to listen to it in the story he was telling. And it's like, no. That one sentence, racism. That's it. As simple as that. He's a shitbag. Okay. We got to get to this article because it's a doozy. By the way, Michael's here, so I want to show you this, Michael. I support this. If Person of the Year is not this frog dude, the original one, I reject it. Also, now there is parody accounts of Governor Newsom, and he says, remember Donald Trump says, if I don't get the Nobel Peace Prize, it would be like a affront to Americans, who insult us. He says, Donnie, it's now been 24 hours since you lost the Nobel Peace Prize. This country is humiliated. I'm getting thousands of calls of people begging you to quit. You failed again. It's an easy prize to win. Hundreds have won it. I'm thinking of winning it next year if I'm available that day. But you, Donald, you shamed your country, your family, and your governor, Gavin Newsom, and horrified, some say mortified, that we are both men. I hope you could do the right thing and quit so this country can heal. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This is hilarious. And technically, if Donald Trump said, he would embarrass America, or whatever he said, something stupid to make the dumb people who follow him feel offended, feel triggered if he didn't win it. My vote's for the axolotl. All right, but I think that frog's been out there since day one. If the axolotl's been out there since day one, and the shark, I don't think the shark has been out there since day one. But I like that the Katy Perry shark's making an appearance. I like that. But I give it to frog guy. All right, let's discuss why this whole government regime needs to be impeached and imprisoned. The rights. Secret plan to help billionaires buy elections by David Sirota. I don't know how to pronounce it. He is a rad journalist, I'm guessing, but I follow him on some social medias, and his writing is amazing. It's gate-kept, but I read his free stuff. All right, I'm going to jump around in this article, but the whole thing's linked down below. Hold on. Crystal. No wonder that chatter doesn't want to believe Kirk was racist. They're racist too. If they admit Kirk was racist, they have to admit about it themselves. Crystal, you've hit on a key point of a lot of Republicans right now that are still defending this PDF file. If they admit, they feel, I try to teach people, okay? Because I'm partially your official YouTube vibe coach. I know I don't say this in the beginning much, but hit subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'm your vibe coach. Get help, you need it. And what I try to teach people is, it's not your fault, Will. Oh shit, that's Goodwill Hunting. If you believe someone and they lied to you, that's not your fault. You were doing what humans are supposed to do. You are believing someone when they tell you something. But if you believe someone after they lied to you and they've proven that they're a liar, their actions say different than their words, then it's on you to go, I was duped, I got tricked, I can't, go for this anymore. Like the great Hall & Oates said, can't go for that. Oh. So I encourage these people that have clearly been lied to many, many times. One of the big ones is, I'll release the Epstein files. And then they don't exist. And he's not in them, even though he's all over them. And we had to pay the FBI to flag it and erase him from them. So as your vibe coach, I say, I encourage you. Because in a few years when we're putting these people in prison, you're going to pretend that you didn't support it. But you could take a stand right now and say, he's been lying and I'm done with it. It's not good for my country. It's not good for my neighbors. And let me just encourage you in a different way. The power of Christ compels you. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no greater commandment than these. First one is love your God. Second one is your neighbor. There is no asterisk in this. There is no, well, they have to come here the right way. There is no, they have to marry who I'm okay with them marrying. I'm very sensitive, and if they marry someone that I don't deem okay, then I'm offended. There's no asterisk on that. If you wear a cross on your neck or go to church on Sunday and you're not loving your neighbor as yourself, and maybe you don't love yourself and that's how you're treating people, then let me encourage you. You're worth it. You're worth a raise. You're worth buying a house, getting a higher education with no debt, having medical care paid for by billionaires' taxes. You're worth this stuff. But so is everybody else, especially them kids, them special needs kids that we went over earlier, that completely just got their department wiped out. So I just want to encourage you in this way, that there is no asterisk for loving your neighbor as yourself. And if you hear anybody talking about coming here the right way, or whatever the talking points Tim Pool and Ben Shapino's, Steven Crowder's give them, or Donald Trump says, if you hear them repeating it and see them at church, you call them out on it. I didn't quote that one, but Jesus said, you go to them. You go to them in private. You confront them on this. And then if they won't listen to you, you bring other people and you confront them on this. Because this isn't, Jesus didn't mince words for a reason. He was very direct. You shall unselfishly love your neighbor as yourself. He didn't say, as long as they came here the right way, as long as they were your pigment color, as long as, they married who you thought they should be able to marry. He didn't say any of that shit. We are children of God. We are in the year of our Lord 2025. And if you're acting offended by all this stuff, you need to read this Bible. You do. Because he says, I didn't give you the power to judge everybody. I gave you the power to love everybody. Also, Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. And he does specifically talk about, it would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were hurled into the sea than for him to cause one of these little ones to stumble. He's in the Epstein files, folks, Donald Trump. And Jesus said, if you make any of them in sin and lose their faith, which, we've seen what the survivors have had to endure. Some of them probably lost their faith. Jesus says, have a millstone around your neck and hurled into the sea. It'd be better for you to do that. So he's in the Epstein files. Let's get to this article. Though Citizens United unleashed a 28-fold increase in election spending, the ruling preserved the legality of campaign contribution limits. But they could now be destroyed by Vance's case. Vance has a case aiming at to reverse a 2001 Supreme Court ruling and eliminate restrictions on political parties' coordinated spending with candidates. If those rules are killed off, party committees could become pass-through conduits for big donors to circumvent donation limits and deliver much larger payments in support of lawmakers who can reward them with government favors. This shouldn't be a party divider. Like, you shouldn't say, like, I'm a Republican, so I'm for government favors to people who spend money. Just like leftists, which I am. I'm not a liberal. You scratch a liberal and a fascist bleeds. Leftists should be against the government taking big donations and rewarding them with favors. We should all be against that. Doesn't matter your party. Doesn't. We should all be against people saying, oh, I'll take money and give you a favor. Because that means our vote is worthless. Our say is worthless. It shouldn't say we the people. It should say we the biggest donators. That's what it should say in the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, in the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. It should just say we the biggest donation party. Then it goes into talking about the original Citizens United ruling. This same conservative attorney charged with defending the last remaining campaign finance statutes recently pressed judges to limit the scope of federal anti-bribery laws, which are now also in the legal crosshairs. So the guy who helped with Citizens United is now trying to get rid of anti-bribery. It goes on to talk about this case where Cincinnati's former Democratic city councilman Sittenfield, that's the same guy fighting for some of this stuff, we'll find out, is asking the Supreme Court to overturn his bribery conviction after an FBI sting caught him accepting $20,000 campaign contribution in exchange supporting a local development project. We should all be against this. And yet, in two little notice cases, including one spearheaded by Vice President J.D. Vance, the High Court could soon do the opposite, eliminating the last restrictions on campaign donations and obstructing law enforcement's efforts to halt bribery. Again, I want to encourage you to read this article on your own. Spend your own time. Read this. We'll keep going through it. Mr. Frundles, money is protected speech, thanks to McConnell. Well, thanks to Citizens United, yes. The more money you have to spend to pay these politicians to speak for you is a protected thing. They said corporations are people. When I say if they are people, then they should pay more in taxes. If they are people. But we should all be really coming together. This is not a party line thing. This is, and again, I understand there's a lot of people who think this is like a dunk on the libs, my team won, your team lost kind of thing, but I'm encouraging you to think outside that box. Because right now, you know, it's not working for you, but like, yeah, your team won, although there are no teams in America, especially if you talk about loving America. It's weird how people that claim to love America, you know, are the quickest to divide America into teams. But this is just good for the people, because if billionaires can just donate endlessly, our voice really doesn't matter. And if they can take bribes as well, notice how this is all just about enriching the political class, which is not you. And just so you know, if you ever wonder, well, maybe they're going to bribe them so we can get paid parental leave or universal health care. They're not. Hate to break that to you. They're not. So this talks about the plan to deregulate campaign finance system, legalize corruption. Let's keep going because there's more interesting stuff later in it. So we see how the decade-long line of jurisprudence has been seen by the Supreme Court to overturn bribery convictions with all these people. Definition of what is official act in the quid pro quo situation. That's what we talked about earlier. 1 second. Okay, we've been going for like an hour. We might have to continue this tomorrow. But again, this is an important read because as some justices were ruling on this stuff, they were secretly accepting gifts from billionaires. Cite C. John Oliver's last week tonight and Clarence Thomas and another couple other. But they're all engaging in egregious corruption. But they're trying to say it's not corruption. Really the problem is anti-corruption laws. Our concern is not with tawdry tales of Ferraris, Rolexes, and ball gowns, wrote Chief Justice Roberts, who's corrupt, when he tossed McDonald's conviction. It's instead with the broader legal implications of the government's boundless interpretation of the federal bribery statute. This is insane, you know? This is literally insane because like they go into Tom Homan accepting a bag of $50,000 in cash for those seeking government contracts, they're just saying like, you know, we can't charge him. And essentially what I've listened to with lawyers saying is like, unless he took the bag of cash with a note on it that said, this is for a specific government contract, they're saying like, we don't know what it was for. And they're all playing dumb to it, you know? Any jury of our peers would clearly be like, well, yeah, you know, just like the biggest one in front of your face, they're normalizing you to this corruption, is Donald Trump took a plane from a foreign government. Would you be fine if Kamala did it and then gave Qatar an Air Force base? Would you be okay with Bernie Sanders doing it? I'd be okay with none of these people doing it. Again, this is not party lines, folks. This is about Americans and how they don't care about you. Donald Trump took a jet, art of the deal, my ass. He took a jet and gave away an Air Force base. And they're saying, well, we can't prosecute it because, you know, he took the jet a long time ago and there was no like written contract signed. Like they want like a written contract signed that says you get a jet, we get an Air Force base. And like they're never going to do that. But again, it shouldn't have to be that. And now J.D. Vance is fighting with this Shittenbog, whatever his name is, to say the anti-corruption, the anti-bribery laws are really what's the problem. Just like this, citing Trump reporting asking oil execs for $1 billion of campaign cash in exchange for government favors. Sittenfeld's Supreme Court petition laments that prosecutors could doubtless present this meeting alone as at least ambiguous evidence of quid pro quo. The petition then asserts that if Shittenbog's conviction is allowed to stand, politicians are open to prosecuting if they say anything during these informal, unscripted conversations that can be read to even hint at a possible quid pro quo. Like, listen to what Shittenbog is arguing to the Supreme Court. They're like, oh, he's just having a me. It's informal. It's unscripted. Like, come on, man. Everybody says, you know, just give me $1 billion and I'll give you favors. When it's like, no, that's the definition of bribery. That's the definition of corruption. You know, at least this is the one thing that, I don't know who said it, but Tad Stormer, I was watching he's a resistance history professor, and he said, when the institutions fail, you don't reform them, you replace them. That's the one thing Donald Trump's accelerated. Before, politicians would have backdoor meetings and it wouldn't be reported on. They wouldn't be so blatantly dumb about asking for $1 billion for government favors. And now, because they've normalized it so much and the people are not reacting to it, and the people are just becoming more and more numb to it and just saying, this is how it is, this is how it is. Now he's got Shittenbog petitioning the Supreme Court that's saying, man, anybody could say that's a quid pro quo. Like, we got to loosen these laws so you can just kind of say stuff. But it's like, no, the reason anyone could say that is because he's saying, hey, if you give me $1 billion in campaign cash, I'll make sure the oil industry is doing great. I'll give you all the favors you want. That's the definition. And somehow they're normalizing us to just accept this while their lawyers and these Shittenbogs are... Is that a Harry Potter name? Shittenbog. Maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong, but that's what it looks like to me. Shittenbog. This guy is saying, hey, man, who can't, why can't politicians just say, you give me $1 billion in cash, I give it some government favors? Why can't, these federal officers, federal civil servants, remember, they're public servants, folks. They're supposed to be serving the public. So when they're asking for $1 billion in cash or getting 50,000 in cash, how does that serve us? It serves him and the people he's given the contracts to. It doesn't serve the public. That should be the Supreme Court case. You're in public service, taking bribes, which there's no other word for this. They're trying to redefine bribery and say, no. It's just, money given and things done. J Money, good to see you. Impeach the Orange Man. We need to impeach him. We should have impeached him a long time ago. Any decent society would have understood he's in the Epstein files, would have despised the nepotism, would have said the Hatch Act, clearly illegal, blasting political propaganda in our U.S. airports using taxpayer money. They're disappearing people. They're totally eradicating the special needs department. He's putting up a ballroom while refusing to help us with the healthcare and shutting down and not paying the military and not paying employees, federal employees. But most importantly, he was Epstein's best friend for decades, 15 years or something. He's a PDF file. And if I'm wrong, release the files, prove it. Just prove it. He controls the government, Republicans everywhere, and they're denying it and obstructing from it and dismissing Congress so they don't take votes. If he's not a PDF file, Jeffrey Epstein's best friend, where he's got real substance, this is what you call like where there's smoke, there's fire, then just release the files. But now they're just trying to completely legalize bribery. Impeach these impeach them all and prosecute them to the fullest extent of the new law. We need this will birth new laws where these public servants can't be enriching themselves off of their public service, and remove all of them. We need to grow a spine, man. We need to grow a spine, but more importantly, we need to fight for all this. And minimum wage, 66 an hour. But more importantly, we need to think back to this old bearded hippie, Abraham Lincoln. And when he said, this country with its institutions belongs to the people, no kings. It doesn't belong to one party, it belongs to the people, Americans, who inhabit it. Whenever they shall grow weary of the existing government, they can exercise their constitutional right of amending it, and we need to amend it, or their revolutionary right to dismember or overthrow it. Bearded hippie, Abe Lincoln. I encourage you guys to stop playing politics, playing sides with it. This is all impeachable stuff. They're trying to legalize bribery. The small little anti-corruption, anti-bribery laws we have, they're going after them and saying, well, if you can't take 50,000 in cash or ask for $1 billion from oil executives and saying you'll give out favors, then, what can you do as a politician? Yep, Virginia. Good to see you, Virginia. Old bearded hippie, Abraham Lincoln, said this. So, my love is with you. My heart is with you. Stand up, speak out. Think of this old bearded hippie Abe Lincoln. Minimum wage, 66. 66, that's what it should be if it kept up with how much they've been robbing us through greedflation. And Michael, let me encourage you, stop saying that's not going to happen. With that attitude, it isn't. Do you believe in we the people? Do you believe that this country should be for and by Americans? That Americans should be able to buy homes, go on vacation, or do you think it's just for the corporations, the wealthy, and the elite politicians to keep bribing until they have all the money, buy up all the assets, and rent everything back to us? Stop with that mindset, Michael. I'm encouraging you. Stop with that mindset. You start breaking out of that shell that you've forged around, like a thick candy shell around your brain, which sounds delicious. Break out of that shell and start saying, yeah, we can. We're doing it. If they can take billions in corruption, we can fight back. You understand? That's what's going on right now. They don't care about you. They just want your vote. Nobody tries to hold them accountable when they ask for $1 billion in cash for government favors. But I say $66 an hour and people start saying, never happened. Yes, it can. If we all agree that we tax billionaires into extinction, pay for our health care, and we should be paid decently, and yes, let me remind you, you see anybody with the cross or talking about Jesus that isn't unselfishly loving their neighbor as themselves, there is no asterisk here. It does not say if they came the right way, if they married who didn't offend me. It just says love your neighbor as yourself. That and love God, there's no greater commandment. So anybody citing Leviticus or anything like that is a false prophet, false teacher. We love each other. We love our neighbors. We support them to have health care, to have special needs kids, to have that funding, and those teachers and those people who are trained to help the most vulnerable children get an education. They're gutting it, or they already gutted it. I played the audio. I'm not on Instagram. Go follow this guy. Join the Discord. The link to this article is in the description. Hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell. We're doing this every single weekday. And anybody who is against Americans having access to their kids with special needs, having access to education, healthcare, housing, food, you're anti-American. You're playing politics with this. You're playing right into Trump's hand. And let me remind you, I want to remind you something. That who likes Donald Trump?
Smart people don't like me.
Not smart people. Admit you were duped. Abandon that PDF file ship. And if he's not one, just release the files. Retire at 45. Thank you, Virginia. Good to see you. J Money, good to see you. Michael, always good to see you. Jeb, I know you're trying to excuse your behavior, but you say just because we want immigrants to come into the country legally doesn't mean we don't love them. It does. Because of what is happening right now, the actions on the street where even Americans are getting swept up and kidnapped because they have brown skin. And you should read some of these stories. I had one on here. Actually, it's linked down below. A 13-year-old being detained in an ICE center with grown men that are not his relatives. That isn't loving your neighbor. So try not to excuse your behavior thinking, well, no, I love them. I just want them to come here legally. What about all the ones that have come here legally? What about all the Americans that are still being forcefully thrown to the ground? Did you see the WGN reporter who was thrown to the ground and arrested by ICE? This is not love. And if that's your version of love, you need to reread the definition. And we could do that tomorrow. It's in Corinthians if you don't understand what the definition of love is. Here, I'll briefly go over for you because it sickens me to think that these people are redefining love. Love endures with patience and serenity. Love is kind and thoughtful. It's not jealous or envious. Love does not brag and is not proud or arrogant. I'm going to leave you with that. Be kind to each other. Love each other selfishly. Love your neighbor unselfishly. Sorry. That is the greatest commandment. And we're going to fight for a better tomorrow. We're not going to stop. And we're going to keep shining the light in these dark places where people try to excuse their behavior. And we're going to silence these bots that keep hating on other Americans. It's an narco blings. It's an excuse to harass people who don't look a certain way. And on top of that, Supreme Court said, yes, you can use the color of their skin, being brown skin, to go after them. And they've been doing that. That is not love. That is not, you know, if we got to break it down that simply, that they can use racism to lock people up and then sort it out after. No. At that point, you're not wanting them to come here legally. You're complicit in endorsing human rights abuses. Understand that. Impeach this president and hold everybody criminally responsible for the crimes they're committing. Virginia, thank you. Stay positive. Keep the vibes right. J Money, Daisy, can't be illegal on stolen land. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. Thank you, Daisy. Thank you for saying that. All right, guys, have a great night. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. And Crush Dice Michael, good to